important, be polite to your neighbors. That said, one last quick thing, which is this. If for some reason one of you ends up in the water on this tour, I have life jackets here below deck with me. If you end up in the river, I will throw you a life jacket. What you gotta do is catch it, hold it up over your head, stand up, and just walk out. You're only a few feet, there's no danger down here. Starting up, there it is in the distance, the 750-foot tall observation deck, bar, restaurant. As it does rotate ever so slowly as well. That is the Tower of the Americas, which stood as the centerpiece of the 1968 World Fair held here in San Antonio. And there are two ways to get to the top. Number one, you can take a 43-second elevator ride. Or number two, you can climb by foot all 952 stairs that spiral up its interior. We used to have races to the top of that tower. The all-time record set back in 1981 by a 16-year-old, never beaten again. 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Beat that. Every 2 years, by the way, the city comes in and cleans out the bottom of this river all around downtown, where they discover and drag out of here no fewer than 1,000 lost cell phones.
How was it?
On my right-hand side here, up over the tree line, just breaking through the night air, that is a church steeple that belongs to St. Joseph's Catholic Church. That church was built by Germans way back in 1868. Not many people associate our city with much of its German heritage. Turns out that we have a very long, very rich German history. And if you're skeptical of that, all you gotta do is open a map to San Antonio. I'll tell you what you'll find. Our city is surrounded on all sides by old German towns. Places like Selma, Fredericksburg, Gurney, Kerrville, New Braunfels, just to name 5. In fact, inside New Braunfels is a massive water park called Schwitterbahn. You don't get any more German than that. I mean, wet road. I mention all this because we're back there at the shopping mall, up ahead of that stone bridge. Right here used to stand an old German neighborhood. In fact, this river here is nothing but an artificial river extension. Back there at the shopping mall to that stone bridge. Now, to build this extension back in the 1960s, the city came in, knocked out all the buildings, and kicked out all 1,600 residents. The only thing left standing is a football.
Our entire marriage is actually made to go to and from the World Service for 1968.
We're getting a look at this bridge coming on up. Taking a look, we're going to do a couple of things for us. Number one is going to be the natural part of the river. We're going to spend most of the rest of our time together. And number two, it is now going to bring into view a very large, very plain, very white, ordinary, rather unremarkable looking hotel. Here it is on the left-hand side. All five right in front of it for you. This is the Hilton Palacio del Rio, all up in yellow tonight. Now this hotel is in fact no ordinary hotel, because back in 1968, this Hilton found its way to the Guinness Book of World Records for being the fastest hotel of its size ever constructed on Earth. Here's how they built it. Every one of these rooms of this Hilton above the fourth floor was constructed individually on an assembly line 8 miles off-site. Not only that, every room also fully furnished 8 miles away. Now when I say fully furnished, I'm talking check and ready. I mean everything. The carpets were all rolled in, the best place inside made of sheets of ink. Pictures of artwork were fastened out on the walls. Lamps bolted off the desks. Giving Bibles, stashed away drink stand drawers. Only then when all the rooms were fully complete from wall to wall, floor to ceiling, they were put aboard flatbed trucks, shipped up here, dropped off on the side of the river where waiting them was a crane operator. He began to hook up to all the rooms, about 75,000 pounds apiece, lifted them up, stacked them on top of each other, and they were snapped into place like Legos. That's how just about the entire hotel was built back in 1968. In fact, that Hilton, a 500-room hotel, was built from start to finish in just over 7 months, a world record. Straight ahead now, guys, situated on the stone wall is a place called Long Beach. There was a little village English. All these buildings up there were built back in 7 there. You got stagecoaches and guns and swords and saddles and statues in there, all restored from past centuries. There's a large interactive diorama of the Battle of the Alamo. That's the Briscoe Museum. Which takes us now to this little bridge straight ahead of us. Have a good look at the Preston Street Bridge because, well, you might never see one like it again. It's a real rarity in the world. This is what they call an ornamental iron bridge, or modified cast iron bridge. Only about 20 of these exist in the U.S. and about half of them reside right here in San Antonio, Texas. Passing underneath Preston Street, if you are seated, no need to duck, you're okay. Coming up next, right down here on the water, on the right-hand side, I'll point it out for you. There's a little island right here with a big cypress tree growing out of it. The first thing on this island is a little iron structure that was called Father Massenet's Table. That was installed there in 1991, 300 years to the day after the first Catholic Mass was given on the banks of the river. Happened right here on this island. As we pass by the island, if you give it a careful look, you'll see it is shaped like a heart. That is what we call Marriage Island. Some 200 couples either propose or get married on Marriage Island every single year. And legend has it, if you get married on Marriage Island, your marriage will not only be a happy one, but it will last you for the rest, it'll last you for the rest of your life. Take it from me, I was married right there. Yeah, 3 times. It works. On my right-hand side, we have Divorce Island. That's where they have you sign the papers. This is where the water kind of widens out. Nice, easy going, peaceful, quiet kind of stretch back here. This is the one long length that stays quiet all year long, no matter how busy it gets down here. Busiest time of the year for the boat rides are the weeks between Thanksgiving and New Year's. That's because during that time, if you take a boat ride, you will see that every tree on the tour will be dripping with Christmas lights. They are turned on every night for 6 weeks straight at 5 p.m. And just about the entire state of Texas comes out for a boat ride. That is our high season. If you come down and see us during that time, say 9 p.m. on a Friday night, the lines to get on these boats will reach over 1/6 of a mile in length. And here we are, folks, now directly on my left-hand side. There it is, towering 400 feet into the air, capped off by the American flag way up there. That is what we call the Tower Life Building. Anybody ever see the original Ghostbusters movie? Yeah, that's not it. That's an octagonal building built in 1929 that was purchased brand new for $3 million by a couple of guys called the Smith and Young brothers. They're the ones who had the gargoyles installed way up there at the top of the Tower Life. Those acted as rain spouts. When asked why they had to have gargoyles up there, they always said those were installed to ward off any bad luck they might encounter in the world of business or real estate. But here's the thing, the Smith and Young made a large error buying that building. That's because they bought it in June of 1929. What happened a few months later, of course, was the stock market crashed. We ended up in the Great Depression. They had to sell that building off for 10 cents on the dollar at 300 grand, marked down to $3 million. So much for gargoyles. If you look back behind me at the Tower Life, this is the best view of it in the whole city all lit up tonight. For a long time, and I mean for decades, that stood as the tallest octagonal building in America. Today that building stands ghost quiet, almost entirely empty. They're now going to gut it out, strip it down, and it's going to become residential in the next 24 months. That's the story of the Tower Life. Straight ahead of us, up over the bridge, there's a large red building up there. People always ask if it's a church. It's because of that steeple-like structure coming out of the right-hand side of the rooftop. I can assure you that it's not a church. I can also assure you, you do not want to confess any sins in there. That is the Bexar County Courthouse. It's been in operation since 1897. I'm going to honk the horn, don't be alarmed. Just letting traffic know we're coming on now. What we're doing right now here, guys, is we're going to make a right-hand turn onto an artificial flood channel. We're passing over a floodgate right now that can be raised up out from underneath the water. If you look the other way, you'll see why I'm not going to make a left-hand turn. That's because 300 yards back there is a 15-foot drop off the top of a dam. Now this river, which is called the San Antonio, flows over that dam back there. The water continues for 250 more miles all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, where it empties into the Bay of San Antonio. However, 10 miles before this river hits the Gulf, it abruptly and tragically comes to an end. That's because it has to merge with the Guadalupe River. That's the one that carries the water the final 10 miles into the Gulf. Like I said, this is an artificial flood channel. This was put here because of the Great Rainstorm of 1921. In September of that year, a single storm cell nailed our city with 17 inches of rain, putting downtown under 9 feet of rainwater, killing 50, and that's why we have this flood channel. It's now been operational since 1941. San Antonio's downtown has not flooded since, not one time. On the right-hand side, we have the Tree Hotel. It used to be the Alamo National Bank going back to 1929. And coming up on my left-hand side, there's a large break in the wall here. I'm going to bring the boat to sort of a stop. As I do, if you look directly to my left, about a block off the river, I'm going to point it out for you. It might be a little bit dark right now, but we should still be able to make it out. Through a couple of trees, up against the night sky. If you look very closely, you'll see two twin stone towers. They're ever so softly glowing lighting right now. There's some movement in that light because it's a light show being projected out to the face of the San Fernando Cathedral. That cathedral to this day is the longest operating cathedral in Texas. They've been serving Sunday Mass there since 1731. As you can see right now, every night at 9 p.m., there is a half-an-hour light show projected out to the face of that cathedral. It's free of charge. You just go up there to the plaza, grab a seat, buy a glass of wine right there, kick back, and enjoy an all-musical light show about the history of San Antonio. Go check it out. 9 p.m., San Fernando Cathedral. Straight ahead now, 12 o'clock, there's a massive tree all lit up tonight. That right there is the godfather of all the cypress trees here in downtown. That is called the Milam tree, the biggest one we have in the city. That is named after Texas patriot Ben Milam, was shot and killed by a Mexican sniper perched up in that tree back in 1835, just a bit before the Battle of the Alamo. Today, this old tree stands 90 feet tall, about 500 years of age. That takes us now to the other floodgate that protects downtown right here in front of the boat. We have two floodgates. This one here comes down, drops like a guillotine. It's a massive 1,000-pound metal door. And when it comes down fast. You could just about cut this boat into two clean, separate pieces. And I want to get through here because they are testing it in 10 seconds. Nah, I'm just kidding, we're okay. Not supposed to tell this joke anymore. And just like that, we were back out to the natural stretch of river. Coming up ahead of us on the right-hand side, I'll point it out for you. There's a little two-story stone structure coming out. Check out the balcony up there with those three hanging lights up top. That is the Esquire Tavern. This is the oldest bar, not anywhere in the entire river. This might be just about the oldest bar in the state of Texas. No one knows how far back it goes because it predates records. What would you know about the Esquire? That inside nothing has been changed out since the 1920s. And also inside the Esquire lies the longest wooden bar in the state that was 180 feet long. That is longer than a bowling tank. Go check it out, Esquire Tavern. Straight ahead, this pink boat is docked up here. This boat is docked at one of our three different ticketing locations. Same tour. This boat dock here is situated right outside of the Aztec Theater coming up on our right-hand side. The Aztec is marked by this large semicircular bronze overhang sticking out. What we're going to do is a side view of the Aztec. This Aztec Theater goes back to 1926 as an old silent movie house. Operated for years that way, showing silent films. After a while, of course, silent film fell out of fashion. They shut down the Aztec for a long time. It was recently renovated, revitalized, and it is now one of the epicenters of live entertainment here in San Antonio. We do a lot of music and stand-up comedy in the Aztec Theater. On the right-hand side, up off the river, a large cream-colored building that is called the Mocara Hotel. It's been a hotel for a couple of decades. That building was back in 1901. It used to make saddles for people like Teddy Roosevelt and Mexican Revolutionary Pancho Villa. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the little stone footbridge right here in front of the boat. Believe it or not, it's the most famous, most recognizable bridge in the entire city. It's a little obscure in the world of general knowledge, but we call this bridge Selena's Bridge. If you're not from Texas, probably don't know what I'm talking about. But this bridge here was featured in the 1997 hit film called Selena, starring Jennifer Lopez, her first big Hollywood parade. It's a big deal here in San Antonio, that old bridge back there. A lot of locals take these boat tours just to hear the boat captain point it out. There it is, back there, Selena's Bridge. On my left-hand side is our next landmark. This is La Mansion Hotel. Prior to being a hotel, this building goes back to 1853 as all boys boarding school from St. Mary's College. It's now been a hotel since the 1960s. If you ever find yourself as a guest in there, you're likely to be staying inside of an old 19th century boys' dormitory. La Mansion for you. Coming up overhead, we have Navarro Street Bridge. So here we go. I'll take it out underneath this bridge on the other side. If you look directly, and I mean immediately on my left, and way into the sky as high as you can possibly manage to look, what you're going to see way up there is a little architectural trick of the eye. It's going to look like a single freestanding wall way up there, all the way up, all the way up. What that is a massive triangular building taken out of sea block. Yes, it is massive by San Antonio standards. That used to be the next hospital built in 1930. That is, of all things, the world's very first air-conditioned hospital. Yeah, that's our big breakthrough here in San Antonio. We invented air conditioning. San Antonio also went to the world's very first air-conditioned office building. And if anyone here knows who Carol Burnett is, she was born right there in Texas. When I was there. Straight ahead now, we're going to go to the bridge. There's a large building there with all those rectangular windows up there, and that's a high-end hotel, which is famous around here for how tall it is. Not because it is tall, but because it's rather short. There's a very strange reason for that. The city of San Antonio prohibits any tall building from casting a shadow upon the Alamo, letting absolutely true fact. That's why this height here is limited to 14 stories. And that's because the Alamo lies on the other side of it called Washington. We got a live jazz down here, 7 feet. Okay, now speaking of the Alamo is not the number one. The Alamo is the number 2 most visited tourist destination in all of Texas. Number 1 on that list is none other than right here, the San Antonio Riverwalk. Number 1, yeah, you know, 20 million visitors here a year. Number 2 is the Alamo. Number 3 on that list, you would never guess if I gave you 1,000 chances, but number 3 is also in San Antonio, and you're riding on it right now. These boats, number 3 most visited tourist destination in the state. We sell more tickets than the Dallas Cowboys and Houston Texans combined every single year. Not even close. Number 1 in America, second Clark County. And here we are, guys. We are now entering Restaurant Row. It starts here. It's over 100 yards long, and this is the epicenter of all the Tex-Mex you can find right here in the heart of town. All along here, both sides of us, nothing but Tex-Mex restaurants. Every one of them, start to finish. Riverside dining and balcony dining, indoor and outdoor seating, homemade guacamole, teriyaki banks, margaritas, tacos, barbecue, you name it. It is Tex-Mex and wild menus right here on Restaurant Road. In fact, by the time I drop you off, we will pass by about 3 dozen different restaurants of all kinds. Coming up on my right, this is this bridge. Starting beat, living amber lights here, going clear across all the way to the next bridge way up there. This is the final landmark along Restaurant Road. This is the granddaddy of Rio. This is the very first restaurant ever opened its doors on Riverwalk. These guys have been open and operated since 1986. We're going to take a left-hand turn coming up. For the final time on this tour, we're once again now going to exit the natural part, head on to an artificial extension. And this is the same artificial stretch that we came out to begin this tour a little while back. Just slowly head back towards our point of origin. A bunch more to talk about though first. The water on this man-made stretch is a little bit deeper than it is back here in the natural part. Back there behind us where it's natural, the water's only 3.5 feet deep on average. That's it. Here on the artificial, the water runs 5 feet deep. It's got a hard concrete bottom runs the entire length. We do have wildlife swimming around us throughout the course of the tour. We have turtles. We have sea kinds of fish. And we also have, as some of you may have noticed, others perhaps not, we have a bunch of water snakes in this river. And I mean a bunch of them. They're all right here downtown among us. We have two kinds. The first kind is a non-venomous species of the diamondback. They have a brown pattern back with a light-colored belly. They are large, they are grumpy, but ultimately pretty much harmless. The other kind of snake, though, is the reason you do not go into this river. Other than the mandatory $500 fine you're going to give the park police if you do. That is the notorious, the venomous, and the deadly water moccasin, known as a cottonmouth. They are 3 to 4 feet in length. They are darker in color. We call those snakes two-steppers here in San Antonio because if they bite you, that's about how far you're going to get. Stay out of the water. Incoming population majority down here every 22 hours. Follow them never to be seen again. Alright, making a right-hand turn at the fork of the river. I'm going to take you guys where it's usually off-limits to boat tours. It is Memorial Day weekend, however, kind of a special occasion. So we are now taking you guys into our convention center. You guys are going to see one of the largest, newest, most state-of-the-art convention centers in all of the North American continent.
You guys see this boat right here on my left-hand side? You guys see the people inside the boat?
Like I said, we're going to go to the convention center. It's called the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. It is named after Henry B. Gonzalez himself, who was the first Mexican-American ever elected to Capitol Hill as a U.S. representative. Hailed right here in San Antonio, Texas. Won that seat back in the 1960s, held it to the end of the 1990s. His son then took over, held that seat till 2013. That seat was in family hands for about a half a century. We're getting pretty close to the Tower of the Americas. If any of you guys are planning on visiting the Tower of the Americas while here in San Antonio, little insider tip for you. When you go there, the first thing you are going to see is a sign that says you got to pay $16.50 per person to go to the top of that tower. Not exactly true. Here's what you do instead. You just walk into the building, find a man or woman with a name badge a bit like my own, ever so politely ask him or her to ever so kindly take you to the top of that tower, but not to the observation deck, which sits on the very top of it. Instead, you ask them to take you to the bar restaurant, which is one little floor below the observation deck. Visually, it's the same panorama that you will get, but that ride is 100% free of charge, up and down, all day long, as many times as you want. You got a family of 5 or 6, you just save yourselves $100. You heard it here first. If you want to walk there, straight ahead of us, through that big overpass, that'll take you to Hemisphere Park. There's a little piece of the park called Yanagwana Park. In fact, this river used to be called the Yanagwana River. Native tongue that means peaceful waters. We're just going to make a little 180 here inside the convention center. This right here is the convention center on both sides of us. And we're just going to kind of quietly make our way back out of it. Now, coming up on my right-hand side, just past the little group of trees here, we're going to pass by the Lila Cockrell Theater, all lit up tonight on my right-hand side. There it is. That was named after the first female mayor of San Antonio, Lila Cockrell herself, elected back in the 1970s. The best part about the exterior of this old theater is what stretches out over the top of it. It is a 122-foot-long arching mosaic. That mosaic is called the Confluence, or the Coming Together of Civilizations. And that is made out of over 425,000 individual, naturally colored pebbles imported from Mexico. That mosaic is the confluence of civilizations. As we exit the convention center, it looks like there are no more landmarks back here, but there is one, and that's a big one, straight ahead of us, this Market Street Bridge. This bridge ties into the story of the moving of the Fairmount Hotel that I just told, that 6-block record-breaking move. That hotel, one whole piece had to cross one bridge, and this was it, the Market Street Bridge. Big problem though. Number one, the engineers did not know if this bridge would hold it. Number two, there are 12 people underneath this bridge helping to guide the hotel with large chains and ropes. So that was a big safety issue. They had to have a solution for it. And that solution, believe it or not, lay in a single bottle of wine. They went out, bought one bottle of wine. They stuck it up there between the top of the stone wall and the base of the bridge. Their logic was very simple. Here's what they said would happen. If this bridge were to collapse,